So this is an ongoing series that I have called The Trouble with Being Smart. And in this edition, I'm going to discuss something that a lot of smart guys fail to realize, which is that there is always someone smarter than you. The smarter the guy is, the less he realizes that there's someone smarter than him. Of course, because he goes through life and most, if not all, of the people he interacts with are dumber than him, or just not as smart or as fast or as sharp, right? Until eventually he comes across that guy who is noticeably smarter than him, and he freaks out. Oh yeah, because what's happened, of course, is that the smart guy has his entire conception of himself based on the fact that he's smart. His sense of superiority to other people is based on the fact that he's the smartest man in the room. So when he comes across somebody who is noticeably smarter, it freaks him out. He feels incredibly insecure. The central pillar of his ego has been knocked out because he is no longer the smartest guy in the room. There's somebody else smarter. And he realizes it, and it pisses him off, it makes him nervous, it makes him insecure, and I'm telling you, all kinds of foolishness can ensue. Now, I'm not talking about my own experience, because the fact is, I remember very, very clearly when I came across a guy who was noticeably smarter than me. It happened in my first year in university when I was in Chile. It was a guy called Jorge Roca. I still remember him very clearly. He was this this guy who seemed like very quiet. You got a sense that maybe he was stoned, you know. He wasn't. I mean, because I got to be friends with him later. But he was just like very quiet and sort of like off in the distance, you know, and he was just a genius. I mean, that guy's IQ points were off the charts. I mean, he was noticeably smarter than me. And the thing is, I remember realizing this guy is smarter than I will ever be. I remember thinking that consciously. And it didn't bother me at the time, thank goodness. It didn't bother me because, like I've said in other videos, that first year of university in Chile, when I got kicked out because of grades, it's when I discovered girls and started getting good at getting girls, okay? And so all of a sudden, there was this other thing that I had, because before, my sense of self, my ego, had depended on being smart and being considered smart. And quite frankly, a lot of the times when I felt lonely or isolated, alienated from the environment around me, the notion that I was really smart soothed me. It calmed me. It was like a security blanket. But at this stage in my life, stage, quote unquote, I was just 19. I was still a teenager, right? But that semester, I was discovering how to get girls, consistently get girls. And I was realizing that I was good at getting girls, okay? When I set my mind to it, I achieved it. I was better at getting girls than this guy Jorge was, right, at the time. I don't know, later, because I lost track of the guy. I'm sure he had a wonderful life, but at that time, I came across Jorge Roca, and I had the notion that I'm always the smartest guy in the room, but oh my goodness, I've discovered how to get girls. And so when I came across Jorge Roca, it didn't bother me at all that he was smarter than me, because my consolation was, yeah, you know, maybe he's smarter than me, but I'm getting laid and he's not. And that's the point. See, a lot of guys, smart guys, they have that lone pillar holding up their ego, which is that they're smart. In my own case, I was lucky, just really lucky, that at that moment I'd started to realize how to get girls. I was realizing that I was good at getting girls when I set my mind to it. And I had that other pillar to prop up my ego and my sense of self. So when I came across this guy, Jorge, and he was smarter than me, a lot smarter than me, it didn't bother me. There was that sense that, oh, I have another thing to lean on. But I've noticed other men whose only quality, or let me rephrase it, it's not their only quality, it's the only quality that they think that they have. The only thing that is holding up their sense of self-respect, their ego. Those guys, when they come across someone smarter, they attack them. They freak out. It's like when a dog comes across a much larger dog, and because of it feels incredibly insecure and starts like barking and barking and yapping and pulling on his chain, because he sort of like wants to attack the bigger dog, but attack him out of insecurity. That's what's going on with those smart guys who come across someone who is noticeably smarter than they are. Yeah, it's happened to me that I've come across somebody that is not on my level, and they start attacking me on the basis of brains and trying to show off how smart they are to me because I realize what's going on. They're insecure. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that, see, if you base your entire sense of self on the notion that you are smart, you're going to get knocked down eventually, because there's always someone smarter than you. Always, no exceptions. You go through life long enough and you're going to meet a lot of people who are noticeably smarter than you, noticeably more capable than you. And you have to accept it. And more to the point, you have to accept it and potentially use these people, have them be on your side, on your team. You have to manage them sometimes. And you have to know how to deal, not with them, but with yourself, with your own sense of insecurity. Over the years, I've met a lot of guys who are a lot smarter than me. And some of them I've worked with, and happily. And it's never really bothered me because, like I said, having other pillars to prop up your ego saves you from collapse. In my own case, I became good at different things. I mean, obviously, noticeably good at different things. And because of that, because my whole sense of self did not depend on me being quote unquote smart, it didn't bother me to come across smarter men than I am. You who are smart, you who are a young man, a teenager, and you're starting out in the world, and you don't have much experience, and you felt very isolated, very lonely, alienated from your environment. And the only thing that would give you any kind of comfort is the fact that you're smart. Well, that's great for a while. That's great when you're a teenager in your early 20s. That's fine. But once you have that one pillar holding you up, that you are a smart guy, you are high IQ, once you have that pillar, you have to develop other pillars to prop your sense of self up. Because if it's just a lone pillar, well, it's going to be unstable. You know, anything can come along and knock it down. If you have multiple pillars holding up a structure, it's much more stable. And that's the point. See, you want to develop other aspects of yourself that can prop you up. You don't want to be leaning, crutch-like, only on your brains. Because if you do that, you're doomed to failure. You're doomed to resentment and anger. Because if you depend on only the fact that you are smart to prop up your sense of self, eventually you're going to come across somebody smarter than you. And it's going to knock you down, and you are going to be extremely insecure, not only on the issue of brains, but on everything else as well. So you have to develop other facets of yourself. You can't depend just on brains. That's a mistake a lot of smart guys do. A lot of smart guys their sense of self depends only on their brains. And why not? Because it makes sense, because it's such a big pillar, if you will. Especially if you're like really high up on the IQ totem pole. You got a lot of brains, you know, you're 2 standard deviations above the norm. Yeah, and that pillar is going to be really big because there aren't going to be that many competitors. Frankly, you go through most of your life and you're not going to meet any competitor if you're 2 standard deviations above the norm. But eventually you will. Eventually you'll come across somebody smarter. And when that happens, you'll be like that, you know, that Chihuahua barking at the St. Bernard. Yeah? You're going to look foolish. And more to the point, you're going to start losing your sense of self-respect, your dignity, your security, your confidence in yourself, and you're not going to be able to function. That happens to a lot of guys. It happens to a lot of guys, especially the kinds of guys who not only are very smart, but start to accumulate credentials. They get the BA, and then the MS, and then the PhD, right? They get a lot of credentials and certificates and crap like that, and their sense of self depends on all that nonsense. That's just saying to them, you know, you're smart, you're smart, you're smart. When they come across someone smarter, the collapse is bigger. They become more hysterical. I mean, I've seen it. And it's embarrassing to all involved, okay? Because the guy who's like noticeably smarter, he's like the St. Bernard facing the Chihuahua. The Chihuahua doesn't bother him. He's just like, why is that little doggy yapping at me? And the Chihuahua, what's going on with the Chihuahua? He's like yapping hysterically, foaming at the mouth, freaking out. And what is the St. Bernard doing to him? Nothing. He's just there. But the Chihuahua is freaking out out of fear and insecurity. And after that, that Chihuahua will never be secure. I'm making a metaphor to compare brains to dogs. Yes, I understand, but you see the point I'm making. It's a valid point. It's a true point. I have seen it. Most guys have seen it, and it's sad and pathetic. A lot of guys who are very smart, they never develop anything else. Their whole sense of self is determined by their brains. And so their egos are incredibly fragile compared to other men, smart men, really brilliant men, who develop other facets of themselves. Richard Feynman, the physicist, is a great example of this. Now, there was a man who was a true genius. I mean, IQ's off the charts, right? But he developed a whole host of other facets to himself. As a teacher, as a bongo player, as a bon vivant, right? He developed a lot of other aspects of his persona. And so, of course, naturally, he came across people who were smarter than them. He's written about it, okay? Or he did write about them. Check out his books. They're great. I mean, not his books on physics, which are, snowy, but the memoirs that he wrote and whatnot. There was one, I believe it's called Surely You Must Be Joking, Dr. Feynman, which is very, very good. And it talks about the fact of how he came across guys who were smarter than him and how fragile their egos were. Yeah, and how just that fragility of their ego made it easy to run over them. Because that's the thing, see, you're a smart guy, but suppose you have like multiple pillars holding up your sense of self. You will come across a guy who is smarter than you, yes. And the paradoxical thing will happen is that this guy who is smarter than you, who has more IQ points than you, he's got 10, 15, 20 IQ points more than you, or perhaps more even, what will happen is that he will see you as a man who is confident, because you have multiple sources to give you a sense of self-worth and confidence in the world. And he will be insecure. Yeah, because he will be smarter than you, sure. He can run rings around you, brain-wise maybe, but he won't have those other facets of himself to prop him up. And he, paradoxically, will feel incredibly insecure when he faces you. Because he will know that he's smarter than you, and he might try to rub your nose in the fact that he's smarter than you. But you'll realize that you're more of a man, a more complete man, because you have these multiple pillars holding you up. You see what will be going on? All right, long story short, what I'm basically saying is, don't bet it all on brains, okay? Brains are great. Having a lot of IQ points, being real smart, that's fantastic. It's great to be able to solve the New York Times crossword puzzle, in under 5 minutes. That's great. But there's more to life than that, and more to the point. There's more to your life than that. Don't allow your brains to be the only thing in your life. Develop other facets of yourself. It doesn't really matter what those facets are. Interests, exercises, sports, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Just develop other things that do not depend on brains, on having a lot of IQ points. Develop yourself in a way that is complete, that there are multiple pillars holding you up. And once you do that, you'll find that brains useful, incredibly useful though they are just one tool in your toolbox. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please go check out my Patreon. Link is in the description below. I have over 100 videos there that you'll find nowhere else. And in a lot of them, I speak more frankly than I possibly can on YouTube. So if you're interested in like the raw, uncensored me, go check them out. I also do a weekly webinar, which is a call-in broadcast that lasts 2 to 3 hours, where I talk about different subjects, sometimes at great length, sometimes, little hodgepodge of what's going on in the news and whatnot, and other times it's just this flat-out AMA. So please check it out. Like I said, link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.